I'd like to open us in prayer. Thank you, Lord God, for your presence here. Thank you for the influx of teachers and children that you've brought. And thank you for the blessing that you're pouring out here on Branches. And I ask that you speak to us today, that you we're connected to you, and we ask that you prune us and that you grow us, that we bear more fruit, that we learn how to really, really run our roots deep and absorb Holy Spirit water and the Word, and that we grow. And I ask that you anoint and talk to us through the people that you have given us to teach us today. In Jesus' name, amen. One thing that's new that I have spread out on the table here, I'll grab one. A couple of weeks ago, we had Wes's daughter, Jackie, come and talk to us about how to deal with the autistic kids in our classroom so that we aren't put off by the disruption. We know how to love on them, and we know we can teach our kids how to be accepting of everybody in the classroom. And it was awesome. And then she gave us a whole pile of books. And this is just one of them. But what we want to do is turn it into a checkout library so that this little library, library's that big because the books are little because they're designed for kids. These are for kids to read, and these are especially good for understanding what's going on emotionally in their body, and also to help kids understand better about the friends in the classroom and what they're experiencing too. So they're available to take home, read with your kids at home, and develop some better empathy and compassion and love and acceptance. And also you can, if you have time, and it's appropriate, you pick out a book that you could read in your classroom too. But we're not the public library, but we want them to come back. So we thought 3 weeks would be about good enough time to lose it under the bed. That's what happened at my house with all the library books, that it was like, oh, it's due back in 2 weeks, and I don't even know where it is. That gives you another week to look under the bed. And get it back so somebody else can check it out and bring it home and read it. So you just put your name on there's 2 cards. This one you leave in the box on the shelf so that we know this has your name on it, and you can put down the date it's due so we know whoever wants this book can see when it's coming back. So they know when to come back and look for it again. And the other one, the other card is, this one has feedback. Was this helpful? And you can write what you liked about it on this card. And this, you can make a little note when you're supposed to bring it back, because I always liked it when the library did that for me, because I couldn't remember when it was due back. So you can put that on this, but if you leave a note for other people who want to check it out, that could be real helpful, because it could change the way one of your kids thinks and looks at people. And make a note if it's really good. If something bothered you in it, go ahead and make a note on that too. That this book was too woke, or something that you didn't want. Something you didn't like. So warn somebody else before they check it out, okay? So I laid them out on the table here. The place we're going to keep putting them on the bookshelf is going to be in the fireplace room. that is currently the fourth and fifth grade classroom. So probably not during second service go in to look at the books, but all the rest of the time it's probably available for you to come in and check out after church, before church, and check a book out. And Kendi has an invite for a special opportunity to increase your influence beyond branches.
Okay, so we have two things. First, in-house thing. At the end of the month, we're going to do kind of a promotion Sunday where all the kids are moving up a grade. Since school ends either yesterday or next Friday, depending on district, on June 23rd, kids will be in new classrooms. So our first graders right now will be second and third graders, so they'll be up in the aux for second service. And then our 5-year-old and almost 5-year-old preschoolers will be moving into kindergarten, so they'll be moving to the K1 room. Now, if kids are in either kindergarten or second grade, it doesn't affect them because they stay in the same room. But we want to kind of start that conversation with kids. So we're going to start mentioning it to them this week. And then we're going to really push it next week, on the 16th. But that's Father's Day, and from what I've heard, a lot of families are gone on Father's Day. So we're wanting to mention it starting this week for the kids. Yes, April? Mm-hmm. If parents are not ready to move them, let us know, and we will just keep them where they are. But we need to know before we hit the move up button on the 22nd. So I have sent out an email to all parents letting them know that we are planning on doing this move up. I sent that out this week. So I've been trying to do a monthly newsletter, one for kind of teachers and one for parents. I haven't gotten a ton of feedback on it, but the people I have talked to have really enjoyed having it. So it was in that newsletter this week. Yeah. Yeah. So I actually put it in the introduction to the email. I put the newsletter inline and I attached the newsletter. I'm trying. So that's kind of the in-house thing that we have coming up is that promotion Sunday. And then we had the chance to partner and volunteer with a couple of local churches in the area that are doing VBSs this year. We are not going to do one here because there are multiple happening, and we'd rather partner with those around us. So most of our kids go to the Warren Community Fellowship VBS, and that is happening July 8th through the 12th. And they still have 2 spots in kindergarten and 1 in 3rd and 4th, and then 1 as a crafts helper that are open if anybody wants to jump into those spaces. Did I read that? VBS is Vacation Bible School. VBS. And it happens 8:30 to noon that whole week. Your kids are welcome to attend the VBS while you are volunteering also. I'm not 100% sure if they have baby childcare during that time. I would need to confirm that if somebody with... They have it for workers? Not for general, but for... Okay. So if you have babies, toddlers, they will have childcare if you are volunteering at the VBS. Yes. And then July 8th to the 12th, and it's 8:30 to noon. And then there is another VBS happening at the very end of July, and I'm not sure the timing of it. I was supposed to meet with the person last week, but she was sick, so I'm still working on the details. And it is July 23rd through the 25th. So it is Grace Baptist and, what's the name of the other church, that are partnering together to put on a VBS. And that will be happening, again, the last week of July. So they need help, especially in the preschool department. Their preschool director isn't able to help this year like they were planning. So that's where their biggest need is on that side. Yes. Yes, they will be going to middle school. That means that they will be joining Adam's second service up in the office for a conversation. Yeah, there's a couple of them that are pretty excited about it too. Any other questions? And if you want more information on either of those, just let me know, and I can get it over to you too.
I know that there's a training for the VPS that's happening on a Tuesday night. I think it's Tuesday night too. Not to say that that's a requirement to go, but if you were wanting to do it and you want to attend, I think that
It would be a great idea to go.
yeah, do you think is there volunteers?
I think it got moved. I want to say it's either a Wednesday or Thursday because I looked at it and was like, ooh, that's gonna be work.
If we want to sign up for the VPS,
We will send you the sign up if you would like to. I believe so. Vicky's been the point person with this one, but I believe it's Rachel. Good. Okay, and so to start, Vicky, anything else to add? Anything else to add? Okay. Do you want to? Yeah, Adam had a couple of things that she wanted to add in on working with our, especially teenage volunteers that come to help out. Correct?
Okay, so my name is Autumn. I've been helping with the Branches kids for about a year now, and I worked at a preschool for 3 years, and then this last year I was working at Columbia County Christian School. I've done some different classes for childhood education, like early education, and then some different things for like kid psychology. So some of the things I wanted to share with you are just tips on how to interact based on the way the kids' brains are developing and then things that I've seen happen on Sundays. Some of you guys might already know some of these things, but sometimes it's really easy to just show up and kind of just do it and then go home and not really care about it. So there's American psychologist Abraham Maslow, and he says that for a student to learn, they must have their basic needs met. His theory of needs is a pyramid. So at the bottom of the pyramid, we have the psychological needs. And then there's safety, love and belonging, esteem, self-actualization, and then intrinsic values. I think we can really help with these needs even if it's just like a Sunday where it's really fast and we're only with them for a short time. We're still helping in that development. Behavior is simply a matter of learned responses, so how do we deal with those responses as well as help the child in their development? One thing that helps kids is giving them a choice. A lot of times they want to feel in control of a situation, and I think it's really important they still respect us as adults, but it also can help them if they feel like they have some control with that. When they're given a choice, it can distract and help them focus on the task at hand. If asked to do something like clean up the toys and the child throws a fit and doesn't want to help, you can let them choose. So you can do this in 2 different ways. You can say, you can help me clean this or this, and ask them which toy they want to help clean up. You can even say to them, I'm going to pick up this one, can you do this one? And hand them a toy and then start picking up the other one, and they should follow with what you're doing. The other thing is just saying, you can clean this by yourself or I can help you. And that's a big thing that I like to do with a lot of situations with kids is just going, can you do it yourself or do you need me to help? Because a lot of times they're going to then go, oh, I'll do it myself. And it can pull them out of maybe the mindset that they were in. And so sometimes they're still stubborn and they'll still be kind of sit in silence, but then you can start doing it and go, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna have to help you now. And then a lot of times they'll follow along and go, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go do what you asked me to do. Asking a child to help with a small task may help them want to participate in what is happening. So if you're gathering in like a circle to play a game and there's a kid that doesn't want to play, how do you pull them in? You can ask them questions. You can say, can you help me pass out the toys for the game? And then they're going to go, okay, yeah, I want to help and be part of this. And then maybe they'll start playing the game and actually join in the circle. Another thing is like the preschool classroom, we have the colored circles. And so a lot of times we go, oh, what circle do you want to sit on? What color is your favorite color? I'm going to choose this color. What color do you want? And then they'll go choose a color because they maybe previously didn't want to sit, but then they go, oh, I want to pick a color and sit on it, and then they join your circle. Really important thing I think is just like interacting well with the kids and focusing on playtime and getting on their level. And sometimes that means like literally getting on their level because they're little kids. So get on their level and interact with them in that way. Kids need 10 minutes of attention a day to feel loved. So you could be that person that's giving them that 10 minutes on a Sunday, and that makes a huge difference. If we present a calm environment that's full of patience and understanding, they'll have a safe space for their brains to develop. Another thing is just letting them be kids and knowing not everything has to be orderly. So we have rules that keep them safe, but we also want them to have fun. Things like craft time, I think, is really like their time, and I think that's so important to let them do the craft and be like creative however they want to be and not make it about how you like, oh, well, it's supposed to look like this, so you're doing it wrong. No, they can make it how they want, and it's their craft time, and they get to do that. So Freud has a theory on identity, and it says that humans are completely controlled by their unconscious mind. So we have 3 parts that run our brain. The first one is the id. It is the source of our bodily needs, wants, desires, and impulses. It acts according to the pleasure principle. The id is the part of the mind that compels a baby to cry when it needs something. It's the selfish part of our mind, and it's only concerned with immediate satisfaction. Then we have the ego, and the ego is the rational part of our mind, and it represents reason and common sense. It wants to please the id's drive in a realistic way. So if a child wants water, it knows it wants water and knows how to obtain the water because it has that part. Then there's the superego, and it's moral. So it tells a kid not to hit because it's morally wrong, and it lets us act socially acceptable. As adults, these parts of our minds have developed, so usually we're using all 3 of them in the correct way, where a child's still developing and doesn't understand. So for example, with the water, a younger child might not understand how to obtain that yet because they're still developing that. So they know they want water, but they don't know how to get it, so they cry, or they maybe act out in a way and don't know how to express what they need. So sometimes it doesn't mean they're being naughty, it's just they're still developing how their brain works. They don't know how it works. So that's for us to be patient and help them obtain that because they're still learning how to do that. So another thing I've seen is very much like choosing your battles with kids sometimes. And so like when we're joining a circle to watch the Bible story, and we have kids sometimes that want to just stand and they don't want to sit. And so then you can stop and think, instead of like going over and saying you have to sit down, we're all sitting, stop and look around and think like, are they hurting anybody? Are they distracting anybody? Or are they actually paying attention to the video? And maybe they're standing while they're doing it, but are they paying attention? Some kids learn in different ways, like all of us learn in different ways, right? And kids are very unique in that. And so it's, again, not always about like the orderly and going, well, everyone has to do this thing, but seeing where that child's at and knowing, oh, they are learning better when they're standing up. Another thing with that is there's some kids in preschool that like to take off their shoes a lot. And like whenever we're in circle or doing craft, they like to have their shoes off. And I would prefer that their shoes stay on. But I notice sometimes when they take them off, now they're sitting and actually doing the craft. And maybe that was distracting them before. And so I can choosing that battle and maybe choosing the right time to put them back on. And so maybe after the craft is done, going to them and saying, let's put your shoes back on. The other thing is again, they're still learning things and they don't know things. So we know shoes stay on because you're in public and it keeps your feet safe, and it could be a fire hazard too. But they know, well, when I'm at home, in the comfort of my home, I don't have shoes on. So if I'm in the comfort of my classroom, I don't want my shoes on. And so that's why at that moment, you can pause and think and go, well, they're doing the craft. After the craft, you can go to them and then explain it. Because I think that's a big thing too, is kids are always asking questions. And so explaining things really, really helps them. And so then you can go, well, we keep our shoes on because it's safe. We're at school or wherever we're at, and so that's why we have to keep them on. And it just helps with that. Another thing just with the explaining is it helps them in making decisions. So a lot of times we as adults know consequences of certain choices, but the kids don't. So if they don't listen the first time, they tend to just get like an immediate consequence or get in trouble. And they don't understand and they won't connect it in their brains why they got in trouble, what the action was that caused that consequence. So I like to kind of do like a 3 strikes and you're out thing. And so let's say a child was drawing on the table. And the first thing is to not automatically assume they did it on purpose, because sometimes kids just do things, you know? So not assuming they're naughty right off the bat. But if they did do it on purpose, then going, oh, we don't draw on tables, please don't do that. And then if they do it again, restating that and saying, I asked you not to. If you do it again, we're going to have to put them away, and we can't use them because you're supposed to draw on paper, not on a table. And then when they do it a third time, then taking the crayons away. And the other thing is being consistent in what you say. And so they now know this is the action that I'm not supposed to be doing. This is what's going to happen if I continue to do it. And then following through on that and doing what you said. So you told them you would take it away. Because sometimes I think also you don't want to see a kid upset or deal with them crying, so then you're like, oh, I'll just give them another chance. I'll give them another chance. But if they know this is what happens when I do this, then you have to follow through on that. And that consistency also helps. It helps build like trust and things with that kid too. Because then they know that you mean what you say, and that will give them respect for you and then also build that trust. Another big thing I've learned is, so a lot of times the word but is used to kind of erase the sentence before. So we see that a lot in the Bible, which I love. And so in Acts 13 it says, when they had done all that the prophecies said about him, they took him down from the cross and placed him in the tomb. But God raised him from the dead. And so that's like a big thing, right? It erases that. Like, it didn't matter. Any of that stuff didn't really matter because God raised him from the dead. And so we see that when it says, but God. But sometimes when you're talking to a kid, when you say, but, it kind of erases maybe what they were saying to you. So if they are telling you how they're feeling and they're upset about something, and then you say, okay, but we really need to move on. Like, we have to go do this thing. Then they now don't feel like they were heard with their feelings, and that can make them shut down in ways of, oh, I can't express what I was feeling. I maybe don't trust this person because they just didn't really acknowledge that. And so it's a really hard one, but sometimes paying attention to how often you say the word but, and then changing it. So in ways like you can say, if a kid's upset, you can say, I know you're upset that the crayons were taken away. I'm sorry about that. I had to take them because you kept drawing on the table and I asked you not to. I would like you to use them the right way. Right now, we have to move on. We can try again next time. And so then you're erasing the word but. You're not dismissing their feelings. You're acknowledging they're upset, but you're also restating, this is why this happened. We're going to move on and then give them a chance to try again. And maybe that is, oh, we'll try again a different day. But then they know, like, okay, it's not taken away forever, you know. Yeah, that's something to pay attention to. It's really hard, but I would say challenge you guys to pay attention to how often you say the word but, and then you'll realize you say it a lot, and it'll be like, oh, that's a little awkward, but yeah, it's a hard one. The other thing is just the kids that need extra attention, and how do you handle that, especially as a teacher, and that's where it is really helpful with the assistants are the ones that can kind of help, and if you're assisting a teacher, really paying attention to the kids around and what the teacher is going to need for that. And so if there's a kid that needs extra attention, maybe pulling them off or being with them. But if you're a teacher, a thing that can help is even things like just having them sit next to you while you're doing whatever, like if you're teaching the lesson and you notice they need some extra attention. They can come sit next to you. You can ask them to help you with extra tasks. There's some kids that kind of consistently have hard days, and so a thing that really helps with that is really being positive with them and asking them, are you going to have a good day today? And usually they'll respond and they say yes, and you can be super excited and walk them through what you're going to do in the classroom day, because that really helps, again, the consistency. And so saying, this is what we're doing today, we're going to play and then we're going to go do this. Are you going to keep a good attitude while we do this? And yeah, just really being excited for them. You can tell them, I'm so happy, I want to see how well you do for craft and Bible time. I know you can do it. I want you to have a good day. You can have them pick out a prize or a sticker and say, oh, if you do a good job, you can get this sticker. And that also helps if they start to maybe have some struggles, you can remind them and then say, oh, remember the sticker you picked out? You can also remind them of previous weeks. So I've had kids where I've done that. I go, I remember last week you did so good and you had a good job. I was able to tell your mom and dad you did good. You got to take home a sticker. Can you do that again today? And when you're keeping that positive attitude, they'll want to do that. Because the other thing is reacting to the good things, and so keeping it positive and not paying attention to the bad things. So pay extra attention when they do something good. It literally wires their brain to want to do more good. So if they only ever get comments when they do something bad, they're going to keep doing that because they want the attention. And so paying attention when they do the good things. So if they have a moment where if they're not really sharing, you want to step in and help them share. And so you can say, hey, you took that toy from that kid. That's not okay. We need to give it back. But then when they do share, making a super big deal out of it and saying, oh, you did so good. Thank you for sharing. That was so nice the way you asked. You can also, the kids really learn when you do it with them. So mimic the way kids play. That's why another thing of getting on their level, as that helps their brain develop in that. And so you can have a toy, and if they come over, instead of just be like, oh, here, because they wanted it, or sometimes I see we'll let kids just take a toy from us because we're like, well, I wasn't really playing with it, right? Because we're not the kids. But they should still ask you for it because that's going to help them learn. So make them ask you and say, oh, they want this toy. Ask for it. And if they ask and they do it right, then you can make a big deal out of it and say, good job. I'm so glad you shared. I'll give you this toy. Can I have that one? And it's helping them learn how to interact that way. I said the sitting. That's the assistants are really helpful too with paying attention to the kids that need that. So you can sit next to kids that are maybe gonna need extra help so the teacher can stay focused on what they're supposed to be doing. If a child's being distracting, you can remove them from the situation and maybe step aside with them, so take a break or pause. Sometimes when they're in the moment, they get really worked up, and distracting them can really help. I like to have them feel their breathing, especially when they're crying. And so you can have them put their hand on their chest and like take a deep breath and go, do you feel that? Did your chest move when you did that? Like, what's happening when you breathe in and out? And they'll start focusing on that. And it changes their focus, so they'll calm down because they're not paying attention maybe to the thing they were upset about. But then also they're regulating their breathing, so it actually will calm them down. I think it's just really important to acknowledge their feelings if a child's upset. Sometimes they cry and we don't know why. So instead of telling them to be quiet, take them aside, have them take a breath, and then acknowledge that. So say, I see you're upset. Let's take a moment, and then can you tell me why? And making sure also to tell them, oh, can you use your words so I understand, what's happening. The biggest thing with working with kids is just understanding that they're experiencing all of this stuff for the first time in their life, a lot of them, and they're just learning everything. I think it can be easy to say kids are being naughty and then give them a bad rep when they're just learning and trying to figure things out. The parts of their brain that tell them whether good things are good or bad are still developing, and they don't always connect consequences with actions the way that we do because of experience. When we show them that we care for them and they will have a safe place for their brain to develop, and sometimes we just have to get down on their level to understand where they're coming from and give a little extra patience for the tougher kids. So.